it too hot, tell him drop it down, down.
Hey, this is AltBraKz. I've wanted to do a track from scratch type of thing for a while now. So I'm going to be starting a series on creating a Neurofunk track from scratch. We're going to be starting with the drums today. It's going to be a multi-part thing. So we're going to create the drums and process them in this video, and then we'll go on to something else in the next video. I'm going to be using a new AI tool to actually pick the drums for us. If you haven't heard of Emergent Drums, go check it out. It's pretty interesting. It's like a drum sampler that basically gives you an infinite number of samples because they're all just AI generated. It works really well, so we're going to use that, and then I will go through how I process drums, and that will finish off the video. All right, so I'm sorry my screen looks just absolutely tiny here. I work on an ultra wide, so every time I need to record a tutorial, I've got like this tiny section of my monitor that I can use. If things take me a little bit longer, that's why. So what I've done is I have created a MIDI track here. I set the tempo to 172 BPM. So I've loaded up an instance of Emergent Drums here. This tool is pretty cool. It uses AI to generate sounds across 16 different pads. So by default, they're pretty random, but you can customize each one of these. So usually I'll just leave this as the kick. From the drop down here, you can choose between different types of percussion, and then you can change the kind of overall characteristic of it. So if you want something more crunchy or more smooth sounding, right? You get all sorts of like really weird stuff if you use crunchy, but we want a pretty normal sounding kick. So if you hit generate, it'll give us a new sample. And this slider here determines whether or not it's going to be more similar to the sample that's currently loaded or more random. So if you really hate this, like I don't like this kick at all, I'll just keep it on random and generate again. See, that's pretty good. And then we can adjust the release a bit here. You can adjust the level here. Panning, and then the tuning as well. And then this kind of sets the frequency range of the sound. Obviously it's a kick, so we want to utilize the full frequency range. For now, I'm going to leave this in single output routing, but eventually we'll break these out into individual tracks so we can process them separately. Let's get a snare. I hate that. It's cool, not what I want. So that's pretty good. So what's cool about Emergent Drums is that every sound is completely unique. So it works really well for creating not just drums, but also like weird glitchy sounds that you can use as sample fodder. I haven't actually used this yet in creating like weird glitchy percussion stuff, but it's definitely something that I want to start using this for. And then we want a hat. You can change these to whatever you want. I'm just lazy. Just grabbing the pad that's already in use. Yeah, that's all right. That's pretty cool. So the only downside to using this is that when you're generating samples, you do need an internet connection. It doesn't work offline yet. I don't know if that's something they have planned or not. but any samples you do generate are saved locally, and you can also drag either all of these samples out to audio tracks or one by one through this little waveform icon here. There's often like a lot of weird junk at the end of sounds, like noise or whatever. So we want really short, crisp pats anyways. Cool. So we're going to start with just that, and then I will add more percussion later. But we can get a basic drum pattern down now. So I'm actually going to bring this into 2 bars for the moment, just so you can actually see what's going on here. So don't do this. Okay, just don't. There's so many more interesting patterns that you can use for drum and bass. I'm really tired of hearing that. Just try and make something that doesn't resolve over a single bar or has like something, a lot different about it in the second bar. So that way it's not just one bar repeated. It makes it a lot easier to create further variations later on. So you can either have your kick on the 2 and the 4, or your snare, on the 2 and the 4, and play around with the kick placement to get more interesting patterns, or you can nudge your snares. I'm just going to play around with the kick. See, that's a lot more interesting than just the same 1 bar shit over and over again. So now we can add our hats. Where did they go? Whoops. Play with the velocity of stuff. Don't just leave it. It will sound better. All these drums kind of sound like shit right now, but we're going to process them after. I'm just trying to get a decent drum pattern down. I don't like this kick here. I don't like that either. Okay, that's good enough for now. So now I can go back into Emergent Drums and maybe regenerate these hats. I don't really like them. I mean, this hat I like. This hat sounds like shit. It's kind of like a softer version of that. I like it. It's good. Cool. So now you have a 2-bar pattern with some sounds that are all right. We can start breaking this out and then processing them. So Emergent Drums has a multi-out mode, which allows you to route any of these 16 pads to a separate audio channel. Okay, so what I've done is move these around just because otherwise the channels aren't going to be in order and it's going to be annoying. So now we have our kick, snare, and there are 2 hats. So now if we change this to multi-output, you're just going to hear the kick. For whatever reason, and I don't know if this is something they're going to address in a later build, but for whatever reason, the kick doesn't have its own output. So if we go to Emergent Drums, you've got 16, well, you have 15 individual outs here. There's no one, which would be this first pad here, which is fine because I can just process this kick directly on the MIDI channel here. But for everything else, I will send this out and then rename these. It should be 3. No, wait, 4. So you have to put these on in, otherwise you're not going to hear anything. See, there you go. So then the hats, I'm just going to group these right now because I will probably create some other cymbals and other percussion that can all just sit under tops and get processed together. Cool. So now we have our main drums here. We can start looking at processing the kick. I'm going to be using Slap by Yum Audio to process pretty much everything. I just like it and it works well, but you can use whatever you want. There's lots of comparable built-in stuff in Ableton or whatever plugins you have in your library that perform kind of the same functions. So I'm going to go ahead and solo the kick here. And find splice or find slap. I'm going to turn up the clipper, of course. I use this shaper to add some more punch to it. Probably take down the sustain a little bit. Maybe not that much. So this is probably the coolest feature in Slap is this transient replacement tool. I've gone over this in some other videos, but it lets you choose from a ton of different transient sounds to replace the transient on whatever sample you're processing. Some of these hard click ones are pretty good. It could take a while to kind of find something that works, so. I don't know where I was a second ago that had the thing I wanted. Fat uses multiband compression, and I think something else. But anyways, we're going to use that. I'll probably play with this more once we get some bass sounds as well. And maybe while we listen to it in context here. And what's kind of cool is that you can, if you work in MIDI like this, instead of just dragging the samples out, you can keep it processed, or you have your processing on and then just regenerate this. And sometimes just completely ruin it, or maybe find something better. Yeah, I think I ruined it a bit. This might be okay. Just have to tweak this. No, it's not okay. I really should have moved the slider back to similar on the last sound. I don't like that. Let's try this. Nope, not getting anything I like. Did I break it? Am I stuck with this shitty kick sound forever? No, there we go. Okay. Yes. Okay, this is good. I'm keeping this. Can process it more later. Cool. And now I'm gonna throw slap on this snare as well and start messing with it. I don't usually use the transient replacer on the snare drum. Just a bit of clipping and transient shaping. You can add some noise too sometimes. Cool. I want to bring up the fundamental a bit and see if I can make this workable. Otherwise, I'm going to generate a new one. But What did I do? There. Actually, I'm gonna pitch this up a bit in Emergent Drums. Yeah, that's cool. Turn this down a bit, maybe like 2 dB. Kick sounding kind of weak now, but I'll fix that after. Let's process these hats. Hats. Not the transient replacer though. Just gonna clip them. Add more noise to them and tighten them up. Maybe not that much. Cool. It's sounding pretty good, except the kick is still really weak. Alright, let's fix this kick. The snare is way too loud too. I think maybe that's probably the actual problem, is the snare is just loud. We could probably make this kick better though. Let's turn up the clipper more. We could change this boost point. What does this kick look like? Wow, it took me so long to find span. Cool, we can EQ this a bit. Let's solo it. I don't know why this is really annoying sounding, so. Let's see. Snare is still too loud. Cool. That's sounding pretty good. We can probably tweak this later once we have more elements in here. But it's pretty solid. And that's just using AI generated samples and some processing. Cool. The other thing I'm going to do is find my mastering chain. This is a misnomer. It is not limited. Just gets clipped. I don't know why this is in here. So I will go into my mastering chain in detail later on, but I always mix directly into this. So like it, don't like it, that's fine. Works for me. All this is I've got a utility to mono the sub, EQ, compressor, span to look at shit, tonal balance to look at shit, and Ulean to look at shit. So yeah. So now I'm going to add one more drum hit just to kind of, because I want to. And then that will be it for this part. And probably work on bass in the next video. But let's do this first. So I'm just trying to create like a, I don't know, little metallic-y kind of hit. Kind of like a ride, but the cymbals on this don't really sound too much like cymbals. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be like a ride or a shaker or something. And there we go. Yeah. No, it sounds too much like a hat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You have to be pretty patient with Emergent Drums. You have some level of control, but there is still kind of a lot of randomness and luck to what you get. So now we have a little shaker thing that we can throw on top of here. Except not like that. I guess we can probably process all of these little hat sounds a bit more too. Just cut out the low end. Yeah. Kind of varying the velocity on these shaker thing hits. Cool. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the drums for now. So hopefully this has been somewhat helpful. I think the bass design is going to be pretty cool. I have a lot of ideas for that. I'm hoping to get part 2 for this done maybe next week at some point. I don't know how many parts it's going to be. It's a full track from scratch, so you're going to see the entire process, however long it takes. All right, see you later.